on the News Channel 5 network. This is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine, a tough but very important topic tonight. We're talking about human trafficking in Tennessee. There is a new documentary out that focuses just on what is happening here in Tennessee. We want to show you portions of that tonight, talk about what is going on in Tennessee, warning signs, and really delve into this issue. Happy to have with us Kathy Gurley, Executive Director of You Have the Power. Kathy, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting us.
And Margie Quinn, Special Agent in Charge with the TBI. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
I want to start with you, Margie. When we talk about human trafficking, a lot of people think that's somewhere else. It's not as big of a deal here. How significant is it in our area?
I think the prevalence of it really shocked us in 2011 when we released a study which was commissioned by the General Assembly. TBI released a study that we conducted in conjunction with Vanderbilt Center for Community Studies. And the results that we found were that human trafficking is occurring in 85% of Tennessee's counties. 78% of Tennessee's counties are seeing the trafficking of juveniles or kids in our state. We're talking about somewhere between about 80 and 125 kids are being trafficked in our state every single month. That's kids being sold for sex. So the prevalence of it, I think, was very shocking to us at the TBI.
And You Have the Power. We're going to see a documentary that
Yes.
you commissioned and you've been putting out there. Tell us a little bit about You Have the Power and how you came to this issue.
Well, You Have the Power was founded in 1993 by former First Lady Andrea Conte. We basically do advocating, educating, and empowering victims of crime. As you may remember, she herself was a victim of crime and decided that nobody should go through this process of going from victim to survivor by themselves. To do the education part, we utilize documentaries. We have about 20 of them, and we generally go to topics that are sort of bubbling under. So in 2011, we're hearing that the TBI is doing this report. We're hearing reports that this is a problem, and we investigated it and found that indeed it was. And what we do is bring this documentary to the community, or on a wider platform, thanks to you, to open the conversation, to let people know that it is out there and what they can do about it.
And we're going to see portions of it, and I'm excited we'll get a chance to share portions of that tonight, and then we'll talk some about it. It's important to define exactly. I think people have some idea what it is, but how would you define human trafficking as we're talking about it here in our state?
I think the best definition probably is just the legal definition, which is that when a person over the age of 18 engages in a commercial sex act by means of force, fraud, or coercion, that is human trafficking. When the person is under 18 years of age and engages in a commercial sex act, that's human trafficking, period. There is no such thing as a child prostitute. The state decriminalized prostitution for minors, so we're no longer charging children with prostitution. And that's a good thing. That occurred in 2011 as well. So I think when you define it that way, I think it becomes much easier to understand how trafficking occurs someplace like Tennessee.
And is it because, I mean, interstates come through here, and is it tied to drugs? And where are these kids or people coming from? Are they local? Are they being brought in from other places? Or what would you say? Either one of you can take that.
It's happening in our backyard with U.S. citizens. I think that is probably the biggest misconception that people had, was that it was foreign shores or just people being brought over. Now, there is some of that, but we're talking about young, primarily girls, but it's girls and boys, U.S. citizens right here.
Of the 21 counties in the state that reported the highest numbers of children being trafficked for sex, 17 of those counties were rural counties. So a county like Lake County in the northwest tip of our state, 7,800 residents, reported 16 to 25 cases of minor human sex trafficking over a 24-month period. So when a county like Lake County reports that many cases of human sex trafficking of kids, that's a complete game changer for us.
Sure.
Because that's telling us that it is not an urban problem, which I think is what we thought it was, and it is not a foreign national problem. These are kids that are raised right here in the state of Tennessee. Parents are from the state of Tennessee or born here in the United States. It's just not what I think what our perception was. It's completely different than that.
It doesn't know socioeconomic statutes, limitations. It knows no gender, no race.
We're going to play a clip from your documentary. This first section is about 7 minutes long. Do you want to set up, what we're about to see here?
Okay. The documentary is called No Girls' Dreams, and it looks at the problem, and we talk to some of the women who've been affected by it.
So let's play a portion of that, then we'll take a break, then we'll come back and play a little bit more. But let's take a look at this documentary.
No study, no statistic, no test can tell if a baby girl is destined for a difficult life.
Nobody just grows up, you know, when they're little, and that's their dream. You don't dream of being a prostitute or a stripper.
That's no girl's dream ever.
But parents don't always protect. Society doesn't always see. And children are often left without choices.
My father started smoking crack with me at my grandpa's birthday party in Ohio. It was the first time I ever did it, and I want to say I was probably 13-ish.
I was born addicted to drugs. My mother was a drug addict. My grandfather molested me until I was about 12.
At the age of 6, my mom is the one who started teaching me how to give oral sex.
As far as rape and molestation, I've had quite a few in my life. One by a family member for years.
Most enter the commercial sex industry between an average of 12 and 14 years old. And typically, even already by that point in their life, they've been sexually abused by someone close to them.
If you're a kid and you're not safe at home, where are you safe?
I ran away from home at 14, stayed out on the streets until I was 35.
We were shocked that sex trafficking was reported in 85% of Tennessee's counties.
Traffickers use the internet because it's anonymous, it's reliable, and victims don't have to stand outside in view of law enforcement. They can drive to a hotel room, put up a photo, and wait for phone calls.
It's the internet. That makes it so much bigger. You know, I've traveled out of state to see people.
We see these cases across a large spectrum, across socioeconomic lines, racial lines, geographic lines, and for those that would say these types of cases, this didn't happen in my backyard, in my community, it only happens in the inner cities or maybe in the rural areas, I would say it's probably a community that you don't know as well as you think you do.
I look at Tennessee, like I said, I'm from Michigan. I came down here, how beautiful the landscape, the mountains, people so pleasant, and you have this hidden world here that nobody knew about.
Human sex trafficking and sex slavery have become common terms in this modern era as the ugly underbelly of the trade, with its violence and victimization of children, is more publicly disclosed.
And then all of a sudden the guy pulls a knife out.
And he was holding a gun up to my head.
Rips my clothes off.
And after that, he made me lay on the bed, and he tied my arms and my legs up together and asked me where was the money.
Proceeds to rape me with a knife to my neck the whole time, saying that he's gonna kill me.
And I was like, please don't shoot me, please don't shoot me. I was like, I have a son.
If you've been in prostitution more than 2 years and you haven't been raped or violently beaten, then you are the exception to the rule, and you are lucky.
This is the Hannah Project. It's a court-ordered diversion at the Metro Nashville Health Department for women arrested on prostitution charges.
7 out of the 10 people that get murdered by serial killers are women involved in prostitution. And don't think the people on the street are in worse danger than the ones working the internet, because you're crazy if you think that.
The program was started by Assistant District Attorney Antoinette Welch, who spent 14 years on the front lines as a police officer.
During that time, I was constantly, coming in contact with women involved in prostitution. And that was the most beat down group of women I've ever seen. They're sad, they're broken, nobody respects them on any level. For some reason, society thinks it's acceptable to look down on anybody involved in prostitution. But it seems to be socially acceptable to think of you as lesser as a person, that you do not have the same value as another person. Well, that's a lie.
It's a lie many of them believe, because their innocence has been stolen. They've been beaten, told they were trash, discarded by family, condemned by society. And so the profile of a prostitute unfolds as a woman who feels unworthy, unwanted, and unloved.
And all I've ever wanted in my life was someone to love me. That's all little Shauna ever wanted, was to be loved.
Not feeling loved and not feeling like the people that are supposed to care about you unconditionally, when you feel like those people don't, that's a big blow to your reality.
Such are the susceptible girls who are vulnerable to criminals like Terrence Yarbrough, known as T-Rex, a deceitful predator whose flattering tongue set a trap.
I think one of the most reprehensible and egregious sex traffickers that we've ever seen in this district, and I believe he's serving roughly a 44-year sentence.
He controlled his girls through cigarette butts, burning them with cigarette butts, pouring boiling bleach water over them, controlling them with dog chains.
At least one of his victims was a young girl lured into his control while walking home from school. But while T-Rex was running a large street operation, other offenders keep it closer to home. Married and divorced at 16 years old, drugs are the reason Amanda is serving time.
I began working in Nashville in strip clubs. And, you know, money got addicting. Drugs got expensive.
So she started working as an online escort. Fearful of the danger she faced, Amanda got married again, hoping her new husband would protect her. But what she thought would be better just got worse.
I was just scared all the time. He kept me scared, and if he wasn't hitting me, he was threatening to. He would tell me I could walk out the door, but the second I got up to walk out, he would physically push me back down and raise his fist and say, you know, do you want me to hit you? It's like you want me to.
If a man loves you, he is not going to allow you to sell your body.
I didn't know who would help me. I didn't know what I would do, where would I work, who would even respect somebody telling a story like this.
That's why End Slavery Tennessee has opened with a mission to free captives and bind up the brokenhearted, while also working to change the public's perception.
I mean, when we first started working, everybody we talked to would say, oh, I had no idea. Now, more and more people are aware of trafficking, but most of the time they think about it happening in Nigeria or Cambodia, and they're still shocked to know that it's happening in our own backyard.